Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. Just wanted to see, say what's up, and hope everybody's had a good week. So we're just gonna get started here shortly. Just waiting for a few people to show up. But hello, D. How you doing? Yeah, we have a few things to talk about. Things that happened last Saturday. I'll just do kind of a recap. So last Saturday's show was pretty crazy. So I'll touch base a little bit on that and talk about some upcoming things, some exciting things coming. So, um, lots to talk about. Hey, Debbie, how are you doing? What's up, Carl? Yeah, no, I'm doing good. Thanks for asking. Hey, Sean. Hey, Carol. Oh, man. Hopefully, Lisa will show up. What's up, Mr. Poe? Oh, my God. That would be epic. uh, oh, somebody with the Rona. Not good. Hey, Nora, how you doing? Hey, Rachel. Yeah, Rachel, if you didn't watch Saturday, go back and rewatch it. It was crazy. Lots of crazy stuff happened. Um, it was just out of control. This mirror behind me was moving a lot, and the funny thing is, people thought it might have been from air, um, but the candles weren't even affected. So I only light up the candles on Saturday night. So none of the candles were affected. So it was only the mirror. And if there was any other type of air blowing, the skull behind me, that would have been moving too. It didn't move. Neither did the candles. So it was pretty interesting. And then there was a few voices caught on because I do live EVPs also. Um, so yeah, there was a couple of voices caught on that. And then there was something thrown in the room. Actually, this was thrown across. I saw it fly from the corner of my eye and then it hit something and then landed on the desk. So it was kind of interesting. So yeah, it was crazy. Um, yeah, Craig, go back and rewatch it. It was, you know, it was crazy. And then plus, there was some things that were happening with audio that were totally unexplained, or I can't explain it. Because everything comes through the uh the mixer that I'm using. So I hear everything that should be broadcasted out over the broadcast. So even if there's any audio coming through, if I'm not talking, I'll see the audio coming through the broadcast because there's some visual EQ uh that I can see, and there was nothing going out to the broadcast, but you guys were hearing stuff, and I couldn't explain it. I looked on the computer, there was no audio running. So I couldn't explain it. I still can't explain it, how that was even possible because there was no audio playing on the computer at all or going to into the line in at all. It's the mighty Kanga. What's up, Kanga? Yeah, I heard the storms, that are going through the through the I guess, the southern part of the states are going kinda crazy. Storms are moving up. Yeah, we'll see, Carl. The funny thing is I used to document everything, like, during a before an investigation, I used to, document solar flares, barometric pressure, moon phase, tides, um, temperature, just everything. Um, I had a full weather report. Um, so it was always, all of my documentation before investigation was always very detailed. And it wasn't only me. There was quite a few of us that were doing it because we were documenting everything, and it was going to another team that was putting it all into a database. So this was back 2012, maybe 2010, somewhere around there. It was a while ago. So we were all documenting everything. Um, and then we were all share it. So it was all available in a database. So you can always pull it up. You know, people would pull up different things that happened different during moon phases and different tides, things like that. So it was almost predictable. It was really strange. You can almost look at that and it was like clockwork. Um, you know, doing that for several years, it became almost like clockwork. Um, on when activity would peak, when activity would be stagnant, things like that. So it was really cool. So, I mean, like I said, I mean, I could look at certain moon phases and say, yeah, there's not going to be any activity. And sure enough, there was nothing. But I mean, like we were saying, intent is everything. That's kind of what we always do is intent is everything. So, we would go in and concentrate hard and still nothing. Um, you can almost do EVP sessions or ghost box sessions with the um, same type of I guess, reports and still it was almost the same. So it's pretty interesting on just how it all ties together. I just wish that a lot of more people would do it. It is a lot of work, and I think that's what the issue is because everybody wants instant gratification. So, and to do all of that research prior to investigation, it's going to take you a little while, and then to put it down on paper. So just have logs. Um, I I I think I've just recently came across a notebook that I had, and it had some of the documentation. It was kind of interesting. I kind of just glanced through it real quick, but I haven't done it in so long, just because I haven't been investigating for a while. So, um, what do you mean, Kevin? Who's it's? Oh, is Deb. So anyway, yeah. So getting back to Saturday show, it was pretty intense. I started getting very agitated at the end of the show on Saturday, just because there was so many things happening in here, not per se on the show. It was just what I was dealing with um, here in the studio. It was just a little frustrating. A little, it's getting me pissed off to be honest. And just with the audio glitches and things that were happening that I could not explain. I still, like I was saying, I still don't know what what was going on. Just with everything that was going on, it still has me scratching my head. Um, because there's no way that there was any audio playing, and I double checked my computer. There was nothing playing. So I don't know how that was even possible. So who knows? Anyway, um, enough of that. So yeah, I've been sorry. I just haven't been. This week has been a little crazy. Um, I'm going to be doing some stuff for. We're working on a couple of things um, for live paranormal. So yeah, I've been concentrating a little bit on that this week. Unfortunately, it's got everything else put off right now because this is kind of moved up on the priority list. So it's going to be a good thing once it does happen. So I'm excited for it. To be honest, we've been talking about doing it for a while, but now it's looking like it might be coming to fruition. So it's going to be amazing. I'm excited. I'm always looking excited for new and different things. I know that we've been talking about doing some other things, but like I said, right now this is kind of moved up on the priority list because we have to do something the for the host channel and for um yeah, that's all I can really say. I can't really give away too much information, but that's pretty awesome, Carl. I need you. Oh, I got to. Damn it! I wish I can share some more stuff um, about conversations I've had, but I just can't until that person wants to talk about it. I can't talk about it, so it's not my place. I'm sorry to hear that, Angelique. I know that the storms were hitting Alabama pretty hard. What else was I going to say? I mean, I have worked a little bit. I mean, I haven't give 100. I mean, I haven't stopped working on the things that my projects, my personal ITC projects. I haven't given up on them. I've been working on them a little bit. I was working on Blu-ray a little bit. Um, but there's a couple of things that I do have to get done, but I do have to work on a little bit of Blu-ray stuff for this weekend. So I'll probably work on it maybe tomorrow, if not Friday. I'm just trying to see what you guys are talking about. Uh, uh, yeah, exactly, Deb. Yeah, prayers go out to everybody that's there in the uh in the southwest and to the southeast. Well, that's cool, Carl. I mean, Kevin. Yeah, I was doing some stuff, to be honest, over the last, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 weeks. I've been playing around with the SDR. So SDR it's a software defined radio. Um, so I've been tapping into a lot of different because with an SDR you can tap into any radio frequency. So there's some frequencies out there that people are saying that they're picking up DRV, but listen, it's monitoring those channels. And Deb can confess to this because she was a ham operator also. You have to be careful with some of the frequencies that you're playing with because you have to know what frequencies that you're tuning into. Um, Even though you might think it might be a dead station or something like that, but if they're registered with the FCC, there's going to be broadcasts coming through. Unless you can find stations that have are not registered with FCC, so you'll find like stations that just have dead air, and it's on purpose because they're not delegated to any station. And you can look it up by region, and you can see a list of stations that are not regulated or designated for a station or to be broadcast on. So if somebody's broadcasting on that station, it's illegal. So those are the stations that you want to plug into and listen to see if you pick up any broadcast or anything coming through those stations. So that's just part of doing some back end research on ITC. Anybody can turn on a radio, do a ghost box session using a ghost box. Um, but if you're trying to do like other type of communication, you have to make sure that it's just dead air. And that's what I try to do when I'm using Blu-ray. I tune into a frequency that's not registered here in the LA area. So I use that open frequency as the just as a base. And then there's some other things that I do on the back end to pick up these uh, voices coming through. It's pretty interesting on what you do find. It's almost like doing a ghost, a EVP session. You know that there's nobody else in the room, and you're trying to do or have communication with somebody, and then all of a sudden a voice comes through. It's pretty amazing. Share that experience with us on what happened, Kevin. That's kind of cool. Oh my god, you guys are funny. The mirror's not moving tonight. So hold on, let me. No, it's perfectly still. I was looking in the camera to see if it was moving, but no, it's perfectly still. So, people were sending me messages about the mirror on Saturday, and they were saying that they were seeing things in the mirror. Somebody said it looked like there was a hand that was coming from inside the mirror. It looked like, I guess. It's very calm in here. It's not like it at all what it was on Saturday. Saturday was I'm telling you, it was intense in here. It was really intense in here. Um, I haven't felt like that in a while. The last time I felt like that was in the old studio at my old place. And that place actually had a portal inside where I was doing the streams. Probably like, I don't know, 5 feet behind me is where the portal was. No, I didn't do anything. I I don't I don't do any type of cleansing or anything because that's just who I am. I don't try to stir things up. I don't try to cleanse anything and get rid of anything. I mean, whatever wants to be here is going to be here. Um, I just protect myself, but I'm not going to try to get rid of something that is here and that's been here longer than I have. So just not going to do that. I mean, it really doesn't bother me. Just at times it it got intense Saturday. That's all I can say. I haven't felt it that intense in here in years. So who knows? Is it because we do sessions every Saturday? It's happening, where it's now becoming more frequent. We do sessions sometimes here on Wednesdays. Um, is it going to cause things to be more active? Who knows? That's part of doing this experiment. So, Deb, did you see something in the mirror Saturday? I mean, you just wait, hold on. Let's see. Wrong one. That's what somebody else said. They said that they saw a face. Um, they saw a head and a face. Yeah, there's a pennant hanging on the mirror, and the pennant is it's a sigil of Lilith. Um, I could pull it off and show it to you guys if you guys want to see it. It's a really cool pennant. There's a story behind that pennant also, or that. So I don't know. Um, yeah, I don't. I mean, it's just going to be interesting to see what happens. Like I said, that's what somebody else said. I'm not going to say who said it, but somebody else said the same exact thing. Um, and I'm wondering if that's why everything just freaking got like crazy. And I had so many issues towards the end. Somebody did not want me to do the show. That's all I can say. I mean, that's just what it seemed like. Oh wow, that's crazy. I think I think we still I think what we need to do, like I said, we need to set something up, the four of us. Um, I think we just need to set it up. I mean, what I'm doing right now, with the other project that I got to work on, um, it's only going to take up my times in the evening, so I still can do other stuff during, if I have to do meditation or something late at night or something like that. I think we can do that. Um, Yeah, Deb, I think it wasn't happy at all, but it's okay. But if you guys want to do box sessions tonight, I mean, I'm open to that. Do you guys want me to light the candle that's in front of the mirror? I don't mind lighting it if you guys want me to light it up. Hey, Amy, how you doing? Sorry I didn't see you in here earlier. Yeah, but if you guys want me to light up that candle, like I said, I will. I just don't usually light up the candles on Wednesday. The only thing I turn on is the lamp behind me. Yeah, if you fell asleep, Christina, you missed out. There was a lot of crap that happened. Not I'm not saying with I mean, to be honest, I was so like concentrated on what was happening in here. I didn't really pay attention to some of the box sessions because I was just like being messed with. Uh mm, Kanga just volunteered to come on. What? Did she really? No. Kanga, you want to come on? Come on. Just come on, Kanga. Yeah, Kanga, you're gonna get your hair cut. So this is our last chance to see you with long hair. Come on. See, nobody Kanga's not gonna do it. See, both of you guys can come on. Kanga and Deb, come on. I'll send you guys a link. Sherry, so some people are on Facebook and others are on YouTube. So uh Kanga's bowing out. She won't do it. Yeah, who else wants to come on and share their paranormal experiences? Right now, uh Joni, what we're doing is we're just chit chatting, talking about things that happened last Saturday night on the show. So Saturday night we do nothing but ghost box sessions. Wednesday show we kind of do a recap. Sometimes we'll do box sessions. Sometimes we'll just talk about the paranormal. Um, People come on and talk about their paranormal experiences, or we'll have guests on. Um, oh, by the way, I think next week. So a good friend of mine does a lot of urban exploring. So we've hit a lot of places, some places dark. Like we went to Spawn Ranch to the camp where the Manson family lived. Um, and that was pretty intense. So this past weekend, we went to um, a local bar where there was a mass shooting 2 years ago. It was back in 2018. Um, they were having like it was kind of like a memorial for the Vegas shooting, and some of the survivors were there from the Vegas shooting, and this was at a country bar, and yeah, then there was another mass shooting that night. So we actually did a ghost box session there Saturday. Um, and here's the weird thing. So I always carry my phone in my back pocket. Always. Whenever I'm not holding my phone, it's in my back pocket. So and I have an iPhone. This is a 12 Pro Max. So and on the iPhone, you to turn it off to get to a certain. Let me see. I'm going to do it right here. So we're at that location, and what you have to do to get the iPhone in this position, you have to hold down the buttons, two buttons, and I have a case on it, so the buttons aren't on this side aren't very easy to get to. Um, but you have to hold down the buttons, both buttons, for 4 seconds for this screen to come on. And the jeans I was wearing were really loose, because I always wear like kind of baggy jeans. So, and I was just standing. I never bent over. I never, squatted down. Never did anything where my phone would be pressed up against anything. So we did a session, and there was an officer that was shot and killed. He was killed by the crossfire. Um, anyway, when I took out my phone, it was and it said on the ghost box, I think it said something about call 911 or something like that, if I can remember correctly. Um, so when I took my phone out after that session, it was on the screen. And on the screen, so you can make an emergency phone call. And that has never happened to us or to me ever. And like I said, I carry my phone um, in my back pocket constantly. And it was on that screen. And it was after that session. And when I took it out, my buddy was like, "What the hell?" He said, "Dude, you got to hold down those buttons for like 4 seconds." And the way that this case is, these buttons are kind of even hard to press. So we're kind of blown away. Lori wants to come on. Uh, okay, hold on one second, Lori. Hold on. There, I said it. Yeah, Lori, if you want to come on live on the show with me right now. Oh, you want to hear something else? This is so funny. Somebody else now is saying hold on, hold on all the time. Oh my god, I started cracking up. She's saying it more and more. Hold on. All right. Lori, send me your email address really quick and I'll send you a link. You can just send it in the chat. I guess she doesn't want to come on. She's hesitant. I'm sorry. I shouldn't be putting her on the spot. Kanga will come on. Kanga, you don't have to come on camera. You could just put up your little graphic like you do. You don't have to show your face. You can just come on and talk. See, I'm trying to coax can't get to come on. Carl, she doesn't have short hair like us, so she can't just throw a little bit of water in her hair and kind of fix it. Maybe she had to get out her straightener and her blow dryer to get her hair done. Oh, um, oh, let me see. I don't. Are you on on Facebook Messenger? I can send it through Facebook. I just can't send it through YouTube. Who do you want me to send? Who am I sending it to, Deb? To Lori? I don't know if I have Lori on Facebook. Lori, are you on my Facebook? I'm trying to look. Hold on. Hold on. I don't send me a message through Facebook because I'm seeing so many Lori Gibbs. I don't know which one's which. All right, who else wants to come in? I just sent Deb the link. Yeah, I can sing for you. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Somebody's here with us.
Andy here from Restream, and in this guide, we'll take a quick look and see just how easy.
What the heck was that? What were you playing in the background?
What's that all about?
I don't know what that was about. What are you trying to do to us?
Nothing. I'm just trying to. Oh, for God's sake. How do I get rid of the bloody thing now?
Don't worry about it. Just talk. You're good.
All I've got is Restream. Hi there. Okay. Hi, guys.
Hello. We're trying to get the Mighty King on with us too, but she won't
come on, baby. Come up.
I tried to talk to her too the other day about it. She was being a little shy.
She's a shy lady.
Yeah, she is. And so is it raining there? Kanga says it's raining.
Raining? No, it's sunshine here. Beautiful, but it's got a nice breeze. It's cooled down a lot. No. She's on the east coast of Australia.
Oh, that's right. Debbie, they said you look overdressed. Kevin says you look overdressed.
How can I be overdressed? I've got a t-shirt, a pair of shorts on.
You got lippy on.
I've got lippy on. Oh, so silly.
Hey,
I've been out since 7 o'clock. Yeah, I've been out running around doing little messages and little things I had to do.
Right.
You overdressed thing.
It's amazing I didn't remember to put a mask on.
So go ahead and tell us about your stories. I'm trying to get Lori the link. I haven't seen her come up yet. Whenever you're ready.
Okay. Well, my paranormal stories. I've told you the ones. I've told you the ones from my nursing, haven't I?
No.
The other.
Okay. Well, the one that sticks out the most for me was I was on a night shift.
Are you getting a delay?
Say again?
Are you getting a delay?
Yeah, I don't know why.
All right. So, yeah, kind of don't listen to yourself. Just go ahead and talk. It's almost like sometimes like a radio where there might be a little bit of delay. So just talk. Don't worry about what you're hearing in your ear. Are you watching the show?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Don't.
Okay, I'll turn the iPad off.
There you go.
How's that?
Yeah. That's probably going to be better for you.
Okay. Is that better?
Yeah, that's much better.
Okay, my apologies.
No worries.
I was on a night shift and I was specialing a fellow that was soon to pass, which was a standard practice when someone was about to transition or pass away. And they always happen in threes. I can verify that. Mr. Mullins was a very tall fellow. He had lung and throat cancer. So when this chap projectile vomited, he didn't muck around. I mean, we're talking across a whole room here. And I'd been specialising him for about a month. And this particular night, I came on at about 3:30, 4 o'clock. He had family visiting him at the time and a minister. So I just made myself known and said that I'd come back. And the bottom line was that about 10:30, 11 o'clock that night, he passed. And I had to do some things, and I was at the nurse's station, and I was walking back to the room, and I got halfway down this very long corridor off to the left, and I heard him calling out. Now, I knew that couldn't be possible because he had already passed away.
Mm-hmm.
But it was definitely him. And the closer I got to turning right and where his room was up at the end, where there were solo rooms where family could be with loved ones for a prolonged period of time. Anyway, the upshot was that the closer I got to the room, the more I felt his presence, the more I could hear him talking to me, the more scared that I got. I was about 24 at the time, 25, thereabouts, mid-20s. And I became increasingly unsettled the closer I got to the room.
Mm-hmm.
And I got near the door, and I just had a torch, as we always carried, and I could swear he was standing there. To this day, it will be very hard for me to not believe that it was him standing there in the shadows calling out to me with an outstretched hand asking me to come into the room. And I believe I didn't go into the room. I was too bloody petrified at this stage. And I've always thought, and I felt at the time, which was what paralysed me a lot with fear, that I would have passed away or transitioned with him.
Really?
I would not have survived coming out. I don't believe I would have come out of that room. No, Kanga, it was a long, long time ago. I mean, I'm 63, I'll be 64 tomorrow. And no, this was in my 20s. So it was a very long time ago. And I've literally never forgotten the sensation. I can remember it clearly now, as if I'm going through it again. All the details of where the wheelchairs were heading down the corridor, I see it very vividly in my mind. And I just knew that if I walked into that room, I would not come out.
What made you feel that?
Honestly, I don't know. To this day, I've analysed it many times over the years at different stages and different timelines on my journey of spirituality and enlightenment and knowledge. I don't know what made me sense it, other than I'd always been able to. I'm very sensitive that way.
Mm-hmm.
I can sense danger. I can sense if someone's off. I'm a sensitive. It's the best sort of overall catchphrase that I can put to it.
Yeah.
And I've just always, in my heart of hearts, I've always known that if I'd have walked into that room, that would have been it for me.
Yeah. And go. The reason why I'm asking, you and I have had long conversations off camera. So I just try, when I ask certain questions, right? It's because, I know what you're talking about, but I want to get other people to understand what made you. That's why I ask certain questions, just to help everybody else understand.
No, I can fully relate to that. It starts as a feeling and it grows stronger.
Hmm.
you have to push through. I've learnt since then to push through the fear and keep moving anyway. And I had the strength of character even back then to keep going. I mean, if I was really that paranoid about it, the sensations and the thoughts and the feelings that I was feeling at the time, and the fact that I was hearing his voice, and when I got to the door, I saw a shadow of him standing, which at that point was impossible, even though he was a very tall fellow. Probably 6'5", 6'6". He was really tall. I just knew it was him. I just knew without I saw it. It's the only way I can explain it, was that I saw it. I saw him standing there in the shadow near the bedhead, and he put his hand, reached out to ask me to come into the room, and I just would not go.
Yeah.
And I raced back I stepped back and I felt the wall behind my back, and I just knew that if I stepped into that room, there was no way I was coming out. So I went back to the nurse's station, and I must have looked all pale and whatever, because a couple of the nurses that were there said, "You don't look right. What's wrong?" And I told them, and then everybody started with their sort of stories of woo-woo that they've experienced over the years with the paranormal. And for the rest of the night, I just stayed away from it. I heard him call out a number of other times through the night, but I never responded. And his buzzer went off at about 3 o'clock, and we were just sitting there having a cup of tea. And yeah, his buzzer went off at the nurse's station, and I just looked at the other nurse, and I said, "That's impossible." And she said, "I know." And I said, "Well, how is it possible that his buzzer's gone off calling for assistance?" And I just went, "I don't know." But it did, and it kept going off for about 10 minutes, and then it stopped. And there was nothing else until handover at 6 o'clock. But I did put it in the nurse's report of the evening. And when I got called into the matron's office the next night when I came into work, she questioned me about it. And like most nurses, she had stories of her own. And she said, "I understand that you put it in your nurse's notes, but for the future, don't put those sorts of comments in the notes, because they're legal documents and the family can read them." But I wanted to document the experience and who was present and who could verify my responses and reactions. But yeah, that's the one that really sticks in my mind. Astral traveling with my mother when I was in my teens. But I'd always been around the paranormal. And I'm not, I know we've had this conversation, but I'm not always comfortable with calling it the paranormal. It's much, much more than that. It's deeper than that. They're not I don't feel or believe that they're this is just my opinion. Right. I don't believe they're paranormal experiences in the way that we've been conditioned to think of the paranormal. They're experiences of a type that I truly don't have a word or a language for. They're spiritual in nature. They're connected. They're real. They happen. But they heighten senses within you that you either have tuned into before so that you recognize what they are.
Right.
And I have, and I did even back then. And we've spoken about when I was probably about 11, 12 max, how I saw my mother's spirit outside of her body. And the story is that it was a hot summer's night when we were kids, and my two sisters and I were asleep out the back in the cool air, night air, on the trampoline. And at some point, and I don't know timeline, so there's nothing like that, I could hear my mother's voice calling me, Debbie, Debbie, are you all right? And I'm going, yes, Mum, I'm fine. And she'd come out to get both of my two younger sisters inside, and she asked me if I wanted to go inside, and I said, no, I'm happy out here. And I rolled over and went back to sleep. But I kept hearing her voice. And at one stage, she was so close to me audibly that I rolled over and there was the white spirit of my mother just standing no more than probably 2 feet from me.
Mm-hmm.
And I woke up and sort of sat up on the trampoline and just stared at her. And we communicated mentally rather than verbally.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, Mum, how is it that you're like this? I don't understand why I'm seeing you this way. And she said, I was worried about you and I need to know that you're all right. So I'm traveling to come down. I'm actually inside in my bed. I'm just coming down to see if you're all right.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, we communicated a little bit more telepathically. And then I heard my mother's voice call out from the top of the back veranda stairs, which was a considerable way from me. And I just remember looking at the white outline of my mother and her physical body at the top of the stairs and said, Mum, you won't, and verbally articulated, Mum, you won't believe what I'm seeing. And she said, what are you seeing? And with that, that verbal communication to my mother in human form, the spiritual side of my mother turned and walked back, stopped at the bottom of the stairs, looked up at her, turned back and looked at me and smiled, and then went up the stairs and then merged with my mother back into the body. And I witnessed all of it. And that's when my mother started teaching me how to astral travel and project.
And I mean, we've had these conversations about astral traveling. So, why is it that I know at times you can sense there's somebody else there, but you can't physically see them?
True.
It's really strange. You can see everything. I mean, like it's a vivid dream almost, or actually like I mean, it's physically there.
Absolutely. It's like a dream state. Yep, that's it.
But the thing is like when there's somebody else present, you can't see who it is. You can sense that they're there. It's just an outline. Either
Very much. Yep.
it's either a white outline or it's a shadow outline.
Yeah.
Just like when you and I talked. Oh, talk about, because I've brought it up before. Talk about the room, and I think you're going to know what I'm talking about. When I think in the early stages of astral projection or astral travel, I talked about a room where you walked into a room and there was two figures standing there, and there was two cylinders in front of them. And I kind of explained what I saw, but explain what you saw at that, because when I described it, the look on their face was like,
okay, I was probably this is going way back into my youth, my childhood now. But
right.
Yeah, I know. I'm familiar with the conversation that we've had, so I will repeat this story. I used to see images, and it was on the curtain near my parents' bed, and the street light used to illuminate it.
Mm-hmm.
And there were what I've now come to know, didn't know back then, but what I've now come to know as greys. And they were moving and communicating and telepathically, and this went on for quite a long time, the communication and me seeing them. They were, for want of a better expression, that was like they were calling me to go with them.
Mm-hmm.
But my immature age and stage, I didn't understand how that could be. Do I get up and run outside? So I just used to lay there at night looking at these images, trying to, and communicating messages telepathically. But there was one night in particular where I knew it was a bit off. And don't ask me how, but I just knew it was different. And I experienced what I now know to call, or label, for want of a better expression, sleep paralysis. I was just laying there. I couldn't move, but I knew it was wrong. And if I allowed myself to go with them and drift off, if I drifted off to sleep and went with them spiritually, and there's two distinctions there that need to be teased out. But if I knew that if I went to sleep again, I would not wake up. I'd have gone with them somehow. But I didn't have the language or the understanding to explain it to my younger self, even back then. And the street light, it was like a movie playing with the street light in this. It was like a movie playing on the curtains. But I knew to stay awake. So I struggled to stay awake. I couldn't move. I couldn't call out for help in any way. I couldn't do anything. I was just there in that space. I don't know how long it lasted for. But it was out of time, if that makes sense. Yeah. But it was the paralysis. I just couldn't move, couldn't do anything.
You said something very interesting, and I shared this part of my story when I explained this to you. So I was at a really young age. I was maybe 4, 5, 6 years old, right in that time frame. And anytime I'd go to sleep, I would see those images, like what you were describing. And they were telling me to come with them, but they weren't speaking.
No.
They were just like, it's okay, you can come with us. Yeah, you can come with us. And I was like, no, because I knew if I went with them, I wasn't coming back. And my body was, I'd basically be dead. I mean, physically, my body would be non-responsive, so I'd have been dead, right?
Yeah.
So, and how I knew that at a young age, I don't know.
Me either. Oh, I was like you, 4 or 5. I didn't understand.
I didn't understand
any of it. I didn't even know how to articulate it, even if I wanted to. So I never told anybody.
Right, I didn't either. And here's the funny thing: it would happen when I was in my parents' bedroom, and you said the same thing.
Same thing.
I mean,
only then.
Yeah, it was only then, and I've never shared that with you until right now. I mean, you said something about that, and it just was like, oh my God. But here's the funny thing: to this day, I mean, I was just prescribed sleeping meds. I have always said I will never take sleeping meds because I'm afraid of not waking up. And this just now, when you were telling your story about you were afraid not of waking up, I'm wondering if me having the fear of not waking up stems from that, because I've been like this my whole life. I said, no, if that's not going to if that's going to put me to sleep, no, I'm not taking that. I was even afraid of anesthesia for a long time. I would not, I would put in, I mean, I had a gallbladder attack. They set up surgery for me to get my gallbladder removed. I said, I'm not going to do it because they're going to put me under anesthesia. I'm not going to wake up. No, I'm not doing it. So I never got my gallbladder removed. The first time that they put me out was my wisdom teeth. That was after when I was supposed to have my gallbladder surgery. But, and then after that, I said, okay, that wasn't so bad. I woke up, and then I had to have a rhinoplasty and remove my tonsils. So they did that. And, I was under anesthesia. So I did that. So, but when I was recently prescribed sleeping meds, I haven't gone and picked them up yet because I'm still have that phobia of not waking up.
I would say it's traumatic, particularly at that young, tender age, because you don't understand what's happening. You know what's happening, but you don't. And even if you could tell somebody like your mother or your father or whatever, you wouldn't know how to articulate it
Mhm.
back then.
Mhm.
What could I say? I saw images, on a curtain through a street light.
Yeah, but
Oh, it's your mind playing tricks on you. It's just the street light. No, there was a little bit more to it than that. But I, like you, have issues with going to sleep. And I really, whenever I'm going to have an anesthetic, like I had, when you said your gallbladder, I went, oh my God. I mean, the parallels in our lives are just ridiculous. But 2 years ago, yeah, I had to have my gallbladder out. I had one huge, I'm not the mother of dragons, but I'm the mother of the biggest bloody black gallstone you've ever seen in your life. And every time I've had to in my life, and there haven't been many times, the thought of going under, I always ring people that I care about and say, look, if this is it for me, just know that I love you and I'll always be with you one way or another. And people, oh, you're overreacting. No, I don't like going into that really deep sleep. And even now, I sleep very lightly. I'm always attuned to what's around me, even when I'm supposed to be sleeping.
right. Now, let me ask you this. Because like I said, I did see two beams. I don't know how many you saw, but when I was in that room
2 or
with
3.
with these beings, there was two. You can tell one was a male, one was a female. The female was the one that was trying to coax me. I think because we sense that a female being more nurturing, more
Mm,
caring, so you build that trust with that person. So that's who was the person that was like, "Come here, it's okay."
mm.
Come with us. It's okay. You'll be okay. And I was like, I'm not going because if I go, I'm going to die. That was how, at a young age, would you think if I go with them, I'm going to die?
Yeah. And that
That,
was the first time in my life at such a tender age like yourself, the concept of death entered my little mind.
Mhm. Because we're
And
so innocent and young. I mean, we don't know what death is.
not really. All I knew was it was permanent.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like you, I had no way of knowing, but I did.
Now, looking back at that, do you think it was extraterrestrial, or do you think that was part of the journey of learning that you astral travel?
Both. Looking back on it now, I
Mhm.
would say that it was non-human,
Mhm.
definitely.
Right.
And the aspect that I didn't know a word for it back then, but I learnt it over the rest as I grew older and got into these sorts of things. I mean, and that's always been a fascination. It's yeah, that's how I knew that I could, and I was fortunate to be grow up from an Indigenous point of view, from a matrilineal line. So my great grandmother, my grandmother, and my mother all nurtured me in that space, and that's when I used to astral travel with my mother, and she taught me how to do it well and safely, and that it's nothing scary. It's not even anything abnormal. It was just part of um,
Part
being.
of heritage.
I
Part
would say that plays a very strong part. Aboriginal people are very spiritual. We
Mhm.
have a very unique perspective on the occult and spirituality. So
Mhm.
that sort of thing is not unusual in our culture and in our experiences.
Right. Yeah, and, like, looking back now, when somebody I was very, very close with, and she, said she was a star seed or star child, and her telling me that I was visited many times, especially at a very young age, when she told
Mm.
me that, it got me thinking. I was like, the only people I was really, I guess, ever visited by were whoever was in that room, the 2 figures that I saw. but I was terrified, and I was afraid to go to sleep. I would not go to sleep. I would
Yeah.
fight my sleep, and I would try to close my eyes, and I would like force myself to wake up, because I was afraid if I fell asleep, I was gone.
Yeah, same. For quite a long time after that, I had a real thing with trying to fall asleep. It was, and it's ironically, not that I knew it then, but I can look back now. Ironically, it's been a pattern in my life. It's been an undercurrent in my life,
Mm,
going to sleep and my sleep patterns. Shift
mm,
work didn't help, but something else that I don't know that I've ever discussed about my family is because it's a matrilineal line, and I'm the eldest of my entire generation of cousins and offspring. So it made sense. And I was always raised to know that when my mother passed and my grandmother, that their status in the community would and their responsibilities for family and culture would always fall to me. I was just brought up that way. There was just no if, buts, or maybes.
right. It's just very interesting, and like you said, I mean, the paranormal, this it's so vast.
Vast.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Um, and just what people are touching on is just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, it's not even. I think that's like a learning stage, right?
Yep.
You get interested in the paranormal. What is paranormal? And let's go hunt ghosts. I mean, that's dealing with lower level communication anyway. So once you start digging in deeper and you go on your paranormal journey, you'll start figuring things out,
Mm,
as you go along, and
mm.
then things will just start making sense to you. Well, to a lot of people anyway, it does. Some people just it might take a lot longer, but it's just crazy.
I fully agree. I'm sorry if I sounded like I was distracted then. I was just reading Life Paranormal's enforcing
Yeah,
Facebook community guidelines. We haven't broken any guidelines yet, but I
no,
can if you want me to. Um, no, yeah, I back on topic. I totally agree with what you just said. I've been open to it from a very young age, like yourself. I didn't have language, I didn't have words, I didn't have understanding. The only time I was really terrified was that time when I was 4 or 5 and I couldn't move out of the bed. I just couldn't move, period. I remember just perspiring. Oh, I woke, yeah, I woke up in a lather of sweat, but I didn't know any better. But as I've grown and progressed and read and learned and studied and spoken and had communication with others who've been down this pathway, and they've either diverged off to something that I wasn't into or whatever,
mm,
um, I've grown completely in a pathway that I often, in fact, many times now, I think it was laid out for me before I was even ready for it. It was just there. It was just part of my world.
right. Yeah, it's and that's why I think I want to get so many people to come on and tell their stories. Everybody has a story.
Mm,
And I want people to see the more and more that people open up, and the more and more that they'll see that we have a lot of, I guess, synchronicities. Um, like the synchronicities that you and I have, Deb, and we've talked about this.
yeah.
It's pretty amazing. Um, and when I opened up about how I was astroplaning and astro projecting, um, just on some of the things that I said, and I saw your face light up. That was just like, and you just were like, wow. I mean, I didn't know anybody else had this or could saw the same thing, right?
No,
And we're, literally on different parts of the world. I mean, you're on the upside down, and we're up above you guys.
no, depending on the yeah. But no, I hear what you're saying, and I totally agree. The parallels in our life stories
Right.
are astonishing. And just then, when you mentioned about your gallbladder, I hadn't heard that before. That's why I sort of went like that and went, "Holy cow! There's another connection." So I had mine out, by the way, but yeah, I often, even when we've talked offline about the voices that I used to hear and want to talk about when I was using ham radio in my mid to late teens. The brother of a boyfriend that was into it, he got me started on it, and I really liked it. And his name was Rob too. I only just remembered that. That's why I thought, wait, his name was Rob. It was his brother Kim that I was going out with, because I was mad into bikes by then. And but yeah, he got me into ham radios, and the things that I've heard on that over the years, I don't have a rig or a setup at the moment, but I must admit, since we've gone down this pathway, it's tweaked my interest to maybe go back and buy some sort of stuff and maybe get back into it a little and see if we can't link it that way, because it's no different to a tool, a pathway that it's all communication, as we've all, and the intention. I'd be very interested now to go back and see how it pans out. Yes, there'll be false positives, there'll be radio stations, there'll be other things that I pick up on, but there are the times where you get communication and you literally just can't explain it.
And this is why I wanted to also talk to you a little bit about ham radio, because, like I said, you have to be, I mean, being a ham operator, you do know which frequencies are being broadcasted, and
Yes.
and what stations do have to have a regulation, right? I mean,
Yes.
you have to be registered with the FCC.
Yeah.
And the FCC is global, correct?
Uh,
Or is there different? I know that there's
I
different.
think it's different here. It's the Australian Broadcasting Commission,
Okay.
and yes, we have a TV and radio channel here, but it used to be the overarching body back in the day for ham radio operators as well. You did have to register because there are times where you pick up air traffic communication.
Right.
And you need to be able to communicate with them in a way that they understand that it's not a plane that's floating around out there and they just can't pick it up by radio. They need to know that there's a ham operator on their frequency and they have priority, and you need to get off that particular channel.
Right.
Back then, there wasn't FM; it was all AM. But it was extremely interesting, and as I said, I've had experiences on that where I've had communication and conversations with what I initially thought was a person, but then as I watched my equipment, it's not possible. There was no channel there for this communication to come through, but it was verbal, and it was and it was some of the conversations just running through my mind now were about what could easily come under the category of an extraterrestrial conversation. But I thought I was talking to a person because they were like you and I talking now.
Yeah. I was just replying to a message. No, exactly. So, and you can do, I mean, you don't have to go out and buy really expensive equipment to do, like even with ham operator. I mean, you're not going to be able to communicate, but you'll be able to listen. So, I mean, if you go out and buy an SDR, just a software defined radio, and they're on a little USB, some of them, you can buy some more expensive ones that that do a little bit more. They have more bands, things like that, or it's just the antennas that they use, because there's different receivers that they use.
Yeah,
So
I was just going to say that.
yeah,
And it's probably why I've got a fascination with drones. So
yeah, some of them have a single channel, some have dual channel, and some even have a tri channel. So
Mm.
An SDR is just called software defined radio.
Finally, I do. Yeah.
And basically you can just scan through any frequency all the way from AM band all the way to to air traffic. I mean, it has all the frequencies in there. You just have to have the right antenna to pick up certain frequencies.
Correct.
So, and people
But
do.
that's
There is a hack where you can actually scan through every single frequency through an SDR. So it's almost like a ghost box,
really.
infinite channels. Yeah.
Well, maybe I should get back into this again.
Yeah, there's some pretty cool hacks out there, and also you can actually find some SDR websites. So you just basically log on to their website, and they have the SDR interface, and then you could just use, and it shows what bands that this particular website might have, but then they have, lists of websites all around the world, and you can see what frequencies that they're hosting, and you could just tap into there and use their equipment. So
Mm.
you don't have to buy anything. But the only downfall is they're only, limiting themselves to certain frequencies. Where
Yeah.
if you have your own equipment, you're wide open to any frequency.
I was with a friend probably about 10, 12 years ago now, probably, quite a while, but he was a ham operator still, and we picked up the International Space Station that night. That was wild. Yeah, we picked up the International Space Station. How we got it, I do not know, but we got it. We were talking for about half an hour to the guys up there, and we told them that we're in Australia and so forth, and then we had to wait until they rotated a certain, distance. They said, "Oh, we're over Australia now. We're picking up the big telescope one, the big array down in Canberra." Just cracked up laughing. I just thought, "Oh my God, you're all." I'm looking at this thing, and it was just bizarre. But yeah, you can have some really funky times.
Right. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. So, and that's why I always, talk about different, things that people can pick up, because what I want to do is, maybe on a Saturday we can all have like a group ghost box session. Everybody turn on their ghost boxes, and we can do some sessions and see what happens. I
Well,
think
that'd be
that
an
would
interesting
that'd be a lot.
experiment. I love experiments. It tweaks the engineer in me. So, yeah, I very much like that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun.
I tell you where I used to want to do stuff like that, and I only ever did it once. I took a pocket CB radio connector and took it back to site with me, thinking there's got to be bodies out here. We're on millions of hectares mining. It'd be the perfect place for a murder mystery.
Right.
And I always thought the ancestors walked this land. You got to pick up somebody. And only once did I pick up a voice. I'm trying to remember what she said. It was basically do not disturb. It was like, we're not ready to talk to you now, or something like that. And it was in a way that didn't come over the two-way. It came over CB. So take that as you will.
Yeah. No, exactly, Kevin. We can actually do that. That would be a lot of fun. I think and you know what we can do is just have everybody, maybe record their sessions, or just keep a log of what we're asking, and then everybody compares. I think it'd be
Yeah.
a lot of fun. I think doing more group sessions like that would be a lot of fun. We used to do it in the early days where Sam was in the UK. There was another person in Amsterdam, and then there was somebody else, I think, in Australia that used to tune in. And they were all running their ghost boxes, and we're all getting the same exact response. It was
Kevin,
really strange.
yeah, I reckon it'd be a really wicked show. Kevin's just put up a really good question. We can have Rob ask a question and see what everyone else picks up.
You're right.
So we could put you on mute for a second.
Mhm.
You ask a question, and then we go live again and see what we pick up.
Yeah, We can
That'd
do
be
a
fun.
lot of different. We can do so many experiments. I mean, yeah, I know we threw out some ideas, on different focus groups, but we really didn't get much, from that. And I think that
Oh,
it was a shame because it was something that we all wanted to try and do, but who knows? Maybe it'll pick up later. But just it seems like right now, I think a lot of people are just afraid.
yeah,
Be honest. And it's like with what you were saying earlier, you have to trust the process.
yeah. And you
Um,
have to be comfortable within yourself and your beliefs, and you have to have a way and find a way, and that just comes with time and experience to be able to protect yourself, because you can open up to some pretty wild stuff, and that's not what you want. I'm not going to say there's negative and positive. That's just the balance of the universe. There's good and bad in everything, so you've got to balance up the good with the bad, and the bad is not what you want to. Negative energy is not what you want to pump into,
right.
because that
Looks
can mess your whole life up.
No, exactly. So it looks like we have another person that wants to share a story.
Carry on, Macduff. Let's go.
We
Who
have
we got?
Amy with us.
Hey, darling, how are you?
We can't hear you. Try it again. We can't hear you.
We can't hear you, honey. Try that. No.
Mm-mm. Try going out and then coming back in. Sorry,
Have a
guys.
look down on your icons and see if you've got your mic on. Oh, I've done that before.
Um,
Somebody just put up in the comments about what are night terrors.
um, I don't know if anybody has an explanation what causes night terrors.
No.
Um, if you talk to psychologists, they even say that sleep paralysis doesn't exist. It can be explained. So,
They put it down to subconscious trauma, but it's a catch-all phrase. But there are some. There's one guy in America, and I can't for the life of me off the top of my head think of his name. I'll look into it and flick it to you. I'll track it down again. He is a parapsychologist, and there are a fair few of them around now, credible ones. So do your own research.
is that Lloyd?
Honestly, I can't remember. It's been that long since I've listened to his stuff, but it's intriguing given what we're stepping into for people who have a base to draw on to understand. And parapsychology is coming up with a lot of things that psychology on its own can't explain.
Yeah. No, Lloyd is a good friend, and yeah, he teaches a lot. He's also on Live Paranormal.
Oh, righto.
He and I have had some conversations, and we do want to work together. Because he knows that like my ghost box sessions are in a controlled environment, and that's what he likes. So,
Yeah.
and he's not a big believer in the ghost box community, but he's seen some of my work, and he was really impressed, and he does follow. So, all right, let's try it again. Is that working now?
Is it better? Can you hear me?
Hey, there you go. Gotcha, babe.
Okay.
Hi, Amy.
Yay.
How are you, honey?
Good. Apparently it wasn't in Chrome.
Oh, you weren't.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't know why.
Let's hear from you.
Yeah, let's hear your story.
Well, the earliest thing I can remember as a kid is seeing things on walls. We lived in the country. Actually, it started as a dirt road. And I remember seeing things in the closet, you know, on the walls, and I'd stare at them for hours. And then I remember, and I don't know if it's astral travel, I don't know what it is, but I used to, and I'd always accuse Willy Wonka, you know. But
Yeah.
I remember being able to fly, you know, and I don't, it wasn't like a dream, but it was kind of a dream, you know. But I'd have this dream. It was so real that my brother and I would go to my aunt's in West Virginia, and it was almost like Hansel and Gretel, that whole scenario.
How so?
You know, so, but you were taught, and I had said this, I don't know, on another piece I was doing, we were always taught in church, Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. So for me, the Bible was always what we were taught, what we followed, and we always talked to angels, we always talked to spirits, but we were never allowed to talk to evil. And then I was raised Nazarene. And if anybody knows the Nazarene religion, you're not allowed to dance. You're not allowed to talk in tongues.
Oh.
You know, there's no such thing as joyous much of anything. Okay. It's praying at an altar. And, you know, but the more you learn, schools don't teach you right. Schools only teach you what they want you to know.
Yep.
So I have never really 16. It was probably when I was 16. We're living out in the country, out by, does anybody know where the Goodyear hangar is? The Goodyear blimp?
Well, I know where the base is, where its base is based out in California. I mean, that's the original base. That's
no, the original bank. The original bank is actually in Akron, Wingfoot, which is Wingfoot, Akron, Ohio.
Okay, gotcha.
And is where it's on Wingfoot, right in Suffield, where I live. Okay. And so when I saw this, I thought, oh, they're taking a nighttime run of the blimp right there. But it run parallel to the road I live on, but then it jerked real fast. And then it went parallel again with me. Then it jerked real fast, and then it went on. And I thought, okay, that's interesting. You know, what do? You're in the country.
How old were you at 16?
Pardon?
You were about 16
I was
when
16. 16.
What?
So I got the Bible coming in. I got the Bible thing coming in, and your real strong beliefs. So you kind of just brush things off like that. You know, you don't really get into it. I really didn't get into anything until recently, the last probably 4 years. And I've been watching Ghost Adventures probably since it's been on. Okay. So I got into Ouija boards probably 20 years ago. And I called them spirit boards. I have a spirit board, but I don't crank it out. And here's something. I had a husband that my second husband shot himself in the head in the bathroom.
Oh God.
So we had spirits in our house that we actually had two church ladies come and bless it and use sage to sage the house and to bless the house and bless me and bless my daughter. And that seemed to get, we didn't have any more activity after that. And then my third husband, actually, we were in the middle of separation, and a month after he left, he ended up dying of cirrhosis of the liver.
Oh, wow.
So before we could even get the divorce going, he had died. And I actually had to go down, the coroner called me, and I had to go down to North Carolina to get his ashes. And the family was so rude to me. Not his mom, but his ex-girlfriend wanted to run the show. And I just up and took the ashes and brought him back to Ohio. Because I was pissed. So I got sort of haunted. And I had the spirit board out and I was trying to communicate. And every time I tried to communicate with anybody else, because I had a best friend die of cancer, Harold would knowingly surprise himself on the spirit board. And I asked him if he would be happy if I sent his ashes back to his mom and girlfriend. Would he leave me alone? And he said, yeah. And that's what I did. And he left me alone.
Wow.
So that's as much spirit communication. I would like to actually, like, yes, that's proof to me, but I haven't been like touched. I don't know what I want. What do I want? It's like, isn't that proof?
Absolutely, it's proof.
Yeah.
So I believe.
Yeah.
I believe, but I want more proof. I want dowsing rods. I want to do something. The spirit board works for me, you know, and I protect
work for everybody. So if you're gifted that way, train it up.
Okay.
So that's something, because like with me, I've never had, and I was talking to Carl about this. I have never had any results from a spirit board. I cannot get a spirit board to work at all. I have like 3 of them. I can sit there all day long, try to use one, no response.
Really?
Yeah, it could be maybe the vibration that I put off. Maybe that spirit is afraid to communicate with me. I don't know what it is, but give me something else, some other type of communication. Like give me a recorder, give me a spirit box, give me something else. I can communicate. I can bring in communication like
no tomorrow.
Like no tomorrow. And people are like, how in the heck are you doing that? I mean, I'll carry around a recorder on the palm of my hand. This is how I carry my recorder. I carry it on the palm and I walk around with it like that. That's how I carry my recorder. And we will sit there in a circle. We'll have 5 different recorders going. Everybody will ask the same question, or we'll go around the circle. Everybody asks a question. I pull them off. I get results from all 5 questions, and we play other recorders. Nobody has anything on the recorders.
Yeah.
And they're like, how in the hell is that even possible? We're asking the same thing. We have 5 recorders. Everything's coming from your recorder. And I was like, I don't know. I said, you witnessed it. It's crazy. Like I said, I think it's the intent. I think it's the person. That's the more and more that we do this, the more and more that's what I'm seeing. It's the operator. And we talked about this before,
Yes.
but a spirit board, no.
Mm.
I'll even, you know what? I might get one out for Saturday.
Do it. It's just a communication tool. It shouldn't put anyone off.
No, I mean, and maybe I can set up a camera. I mean, set up another camera with a down angle or something. I don't know. I'll figure
Yeah,
something.
There were very few times. There were a couple attempts I did it by myself. It was very, very difficult to get answers by myself.
Okay, maybe
You know,
that's because I try to do it myself.
it's hard. It's very hard. But I mean, I did, but it was not. Yeah, it's very hard to do it by yourself.
Agreed.
For me, it was. For me, it was.
I'm the same. Whenever I've tried to use the spirit board for communication over the years, it's a hit and miss type of thing. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So I gave it away thinking, well, that's not for me. And I think Rob touched on it just then, and he's said it before, and it's a truth in my opinion. Take it for what you think it's worth. But you have to be attuned to the device. For Rob, it is radio, ITC. For you, if you're capable and the other side knows it, of utilising that particular tool, dowsing rods, tarot cards, whatever, communication will come. But you have to, whatever device you choose, or 2 or 3, if you're truly gifted in those things, communication will come. And the more you tune yourself into it, the use of that tool, the better and more communication will proliferate from it, has been my experience observing other people.
Right. Yeah, maybe that's what I might need to do. I might have to get a spirit board from Lindsay and use a pendulum and see if that works better.
Yeah, well,
Right.
get Lindsay on with a pendulum and a spirit board.
I think Lindsay's making some kind of board, and
Yeah.
I'm not prolific at boards. I mean, I don't know I know the basic Ouija board, you know, and I know the one spirit board I had, but each board is slightly different, and the rules have to change for each board. I mean, you know, to me, yes, the rules are basically the same, but you still have to, there's certain things about it. You still have to respect what you're saying and, you know, go about it the right way. You know, you just can't open up a board and then not close it. You know, I don't go into it like that.
No, but you've raised a really, really good point. When you use the tools that you use for divination, you have to know how to close it out, because that portal, for want of a better expression, that conduit, that aperture for communication will stay open until you close it. And I've seen that happen and go south a number of times, and it's not pretty. It really is not pretty. Things happen in the house. So you've got the right mindset and attitude to handle a spirit board. So all power to it, in my opinion. All power to it. If you know
always bring positivity.
Absolutely.
And always bring light and positivity into that board. And
yep.
No.
Absolutely.
Always set your intention in good.
Yep.
Always.
That's what we always say on the show. We always say intent. Intent, intent, intent. You know, and I think before, and it's always like when one person comes in, let's say like in the early days when we used to do a lot of trying to get loved ones to come through for people.
Yeah.
I think it would happen because that person was so focused in on their attention, so focused to contacting their family, and it's it's doing sessions. It's when we do sessions, it's almost like that intent is opening up, and the way that from what I was taught during spirit communication, there's basically a gatekeeper. The gatekeeper will allow a spirit to communicate, and then they're pulled back. And then they let out another spirit to communicate, then they'll pull them back. It's how they're kept in control. And that's why you might hear a bunch of voices coming through, but there's always that one voice that you'll constantly hear. And that's something that you have to have a trained ear for when you're doing sessions, um, that you're always listening for a certain voice to come through, because there's so many voices coming through and overlapping. You don't know what spirit and what's coming through as radio, right? But you always listen to that one that those one responses, or there might be a few responses coming through depending on what we're doing at that time. So there's always, like when Lindsay was talking about, her and I did a session, we're just experimenting, and we were getting words from multiple people, but those words that were coming through created a sentence. It was a message. And we're like, holy crap. This person said this word, this person said that word, but they all came down when it all was all said and done. There was a message.
Yeah.
And we're like, and that just opened up a whole new can of worms. So
Amy, Purple's Dahlia has just raised an interesting point. For the moments where it goes sideways, should that occur, have you got salt, like
Right.
unionized salt around you? And do you have a
Yes.
method for cleansing and closing
Right.
and all that
Right.
to
All
protect
that.
you as
You need,
well?
well, she is definitely getting stuff together for me now.
Oh, good.
Because I haven't, not that I don't have it, but I don't, it's like I used to have all that stuff, and then I moved and all of it got, combobbled. So I don't
Right.
have it anymore. And it's
Yeah.
like, I got so far away. My parents died. You get so far away from yourself. And now you have to gather yourself back up and get in the routine again and have a goal and start wanting to do things. And now I want to investigate.
Yeah.
I'm ready to want to investigate and do things.
Yeah.
I can
That's
relate
my
to that
next step. Pardon?
on many levels. When I was nursing, because I was surrounded by so much death and sorrow, I started shutting my senses down because I was too what's the word? I was too I was sensitive to it too much.
Right. You were oversensitized. Oversensitized.
And I'd
I
have
was
bouts of depression and crying and all sorts of things. And I could never understand why. I was sitting there crying. So my solution was just go out with the nurses at night and go get drunk. And that didn't work.
I was a respiratory therapist. So I get you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of the
Shutting
reasons why
off
I
the
got out of
vent is
nursing.
no fun.
No, you have great moments, but
yeah, you do.
great funny story. Yeah, but I could wax lyrical about that. But the reality is, you've actually Purple raises a really important point, and you've already identified that you need to close it down. So that's a big, as she put it, anything you open, you have to close. And she's gifted in that way, and she knows what she's talking about. So that's why I raised it, because it's a really important point. It's if you're going to start utilizing a tool, whether it's dowsing rods, pendulums, cards, ghost boxes, talking spirit boards, whatever, you need to understand ways to protect yourself, your surroundings, the people that are with you when you're having a session.
Mm-hmm.
And you also need to know how to close it down if it starts to feel wrong, as Rob's done many, many times. He senses something's off and he shuts it down right there and then. And I never question it. I never question if he's picking up something, because I trust his abilities and his intuition, and he's the one that's sitting there in the room. We're scattered all over the world. But if he says, no, I didn't like the way that felt, and he shuts it down, and I go, okay. I don't question it in my mind. I don't question it in the comments. Many of us could be right into it, but Rob will shut it down, and I never question his motive, because I know that it came from a place of pure intent to protect us.
Well, it was like Saturday. Saturday was just
Yeah.
out of control. I mean, I could not. That's why I just was not right mentally. It got me in a state where I was starting to get angry and frustrated. And that's why I just said, you know what? I got to end this show. I'm sorry, but I just got to end it. It just because whatever was here was, I guess, antagonizing me, and it was pushing me, and I wasn't going to let it defeat me. So that's why I just said, you know what? I had to walk away because it was trying to get me down to its level, and I'm not going to deal with it. I'm just shutting down and walk away. So, and I think we all have to understand, when we have to shut down. And that's why I've done it. I've always said on this show, when we're doing live sessions, anything negative comes out, I'm going to shut it down.
Yeah.
If we get a very positive message, I'm going to end it, because that message was already delivered and we have to celebrate that message. So I'll shut it down. So those are the only two times that I'll shut down a session. I know that they're totally complete opposites, but the reason why is, when we get a positive message and the message is out there, it's complete. We have to celebrate that message, because there's not going to be anything more after that. And I want that person to kind of enjoy that moment and, let that moment sink in. So, especially if it's meant for somebody out there. And I've gotten messages from people like, oh my God, Rob, during the show, I'm getting a private message on Facebook or, a messenger, like, oh my God, that message was totally for me. And then they had the story behind it. So I'll read the message and I said, okay, I'm going to shut down this session, and I'll do that just out of respect.
Oh, that's another big point. You got to respect what you're doing.
Right.
Couldn't agree more with everything that you just said. I just want to touch on one thing. I don't notice that Carl put a really interesting topic up before about the Kabbalah tree of life.
Mm-hmm.
I've used those Kabbalah steps on the tree of life to build and open up various levels within myself, and I did it in conjunction with my shadow work. That was some time ago, but I still hold to it, those principles now, even to this day. Kabbalah is a very interesting way to open yourself up and reach knowledge and enlightenment in this pathway. I would recommend it to anyone. It's a safe space to just look at it, is utilizing the tree of life and the different levels that you have to go through. But also remember that once you step into that space within yourself and you start incorporating those principles into your daily life and practices, whatever that may be, you also have to realize that stays open. You have to close it every time, various levels. And because you've progressed to one doesn't mean that the others won't try and pull you back down. So you're constantly having to be mindful. But I would recommend for anyone to utilize in conjunction with their shadow work, the Kabbalah tree of life and the various levels for cleansing when you do your shadow work on yourself. That's all that shadow work is working on your negative aspects and mindsets and language. And if you know yourself well enough to know that your triggers, like mine, is anger, I have to be mindful that that's not in my daily practices. It's not part of who I am and who I want to be in the world. So understanding that because I've progressed from that level at a base level, it's like opening up and cleansing your chakras. You have to remember that energy that you posited there and worked on doesn't mean it won't try and pull you back down. So you need to be mindful all the time, 24/7, because it will bite you in the ass if you're not careful and you think that you've cleared that level and you progress on up the tree of life and the various levels. You're constantly working through all of it. It's never one settled thing that you're able to just go, well, I've passed that level. It's not like a game where you just play a level and you've reached certain, you've unlocked all the little treasure chests or whatever. You constantly have to be mindful that dark energy is still sitting there, ready to grab you if you even put your little toe in that pool. So it was a really good point, Carl. Thank you for that.
Yeah. And I think that's something that I think a lot of people out there should, honestly, if we do any type of focus group, to be honest, I think that's what we should do. I think we should all kind of maybe do some type of Kabbalah work and kind of like do just to show people what it's about, maybe.
Yep.
And just kind of introduce, the different tools that are out there to help develop your communication skills and just develop you as a person.
Yeah.
To develop your spirituality. I think everybody should do that. To be honest, if this is what you want to do, it's just going to help you grow.
Oh, I totally agree with that.
I think running through Paranormal 101 would be a good idea for everyone too, if that's where we're starting from. I mean, a lot of us aren't gurus, I mean, most of us aren't.
No. I mean,
absolutely.
There is no expert out there. I mean, that's the thing, because we're constantly learning. Just because somebody might have a theory or something, it's, you try to put together just results that you have gotten. It's just not, everybody will come up with something different. A theory is just a theory.
Where did Amy go?
She probably lost connection, or maybe her phone died. I'm not sure. But yeah, I just don't think that there's anybody out there that, it's just hard. I mean, it takes a lot of work, and everybody out there, everybody's looking for that instant gratification, which doesn't exist.
I absolutely agree. I mean, some people may not be interested in the Kabbalah and utilizing the tools within the Torah, but it worked for me. So all I can share is my own experiences and what worked for me. It's up to the individual to develop their own practices and beliefs and what they want to do. So yeah, I'm just sharing what worked for me.
Yeah. I mean,
when I did my shadow work, really worked at it.
So do you think certain personalities mentally attract the same like-minded entities?
Yeah, I do. If you're negative, you're only going to get negative. If you wallow in, if you wallow in self-pity and depression long enough and only see the negative in your life, then that's all you're ever going to attract. All the good stuff that you see other people experiencing won't come to you because you're the blockage. In every phase and stage that you go through in life. Even I'm now 63. Tomorrow I change to a 64. But if somebody had sat me down, hi Dale, you're back. Had sat me down when I was in my teens and 20s and tried to explain these things, then I'd have gone, yeah, what are you smoking and how can I share some? And I would not have taken any of it in. I wouldn't have. I had to come to a period of belief. I had to de-Catholicize myself.
Mhm.
Grew up in a strong Catholic family. Read through various religions. They're all the same. The Jesus story, there's 27 of them. Look at the Vedic beliefs. It's all the same story. All the same. What I can say from my own perspective, going through de-Christianizing myself, is the fear and hatred and discrimination that is really inbuilt in it. It's evil. It's a fictional book that's cut and pasted and made up since the Council of Nicaea, and it is a bastardization of everything that a true religion of, so they call it faith, hope, and all the good stuff. It's the complete opposite in practice. And don't get me started on evangelicals, because we'll be here to doomsday.
You know what is I found, or I was watching a documentary. Maybe it was something that you sent. They were talking about, they got scholars that did an interpretation of
Yeah,
each word. So they got the correct interpretation for each Hebrew word that was written in the Bible. Was
yeah.
this something that you sent?
Yeah, it's from an ex-priest here in Australia, and it's called The Fifth Kind, and it's on YouTube.
That's what it was.
I sent it, I think, during the week, how they've looked at Genesis and the Bible
Mhm.
with a Hebrew dictionary, and the wording and the context is completely different. They're talking about the Nephilim.
Right.
So the whole idea of not talking to spirits and it's evil, it's the devil, whatever the concoction that is, it's crazy. It's hypocritical.
Mhm.
It's in their own book, and they're telling you to, talk to Jesus and don't talk to this, that, and the other. And if any other spirit tries to contact you, it's the devil. Hello, look at your own book. No,
Yeah,
yes,
because in the context, um,
completely different message.
the message was, if you look at it, you're actually worshiping a monster.
Correct.
Um,
You are literally worshipping the most evil demon, devil you could possibly imagine, if that's your choice.
right.
So understand what the Bible really is. But yeah, this is an ex-priest. It's called The Fifth Kind, and
Mhm.
you can get him on YouTube. But that's the latest one. He's used a Hebrew Bible and gone back through, looking at Genesis and other parts, Leviticus and other parts, and that's another. I sent you that stuff from him. How Leviticus, how they always say that it's, don't sleep with a man or a woman and all that bullshit. Doesn't even mention homosexuality. It's all about the codes that men are supposed to do when they marry. Once you marry, you can't sleep with your daughter, you can't sleep with your sister-in-law, you can't sleep with your mother-in-law, your brother-in-law. It's not what it's been prescribed to be, and it's eye-opening.
Yeah. No, it's yeah. There's just so much. I mean, because there's. I think a lot of people that grew up in religion. See, now we're going on the religion kick. You started looking outside once were, it was engraved in you. It was just pounded on you since growing up. Now you become an adult. Now you start looking, okay, let's check out, you start doing research on everything, because I grew up Catholic, but I always went to church with other families, my
Yeah.
friends' families, and we went to, Christian churches. I never went to I always thought that going to Catholic church was boring. I would always fall asleep. I was always, like, joking around. I was never listening to what was being said. It was always the same.
Yeah.
So, to me, going to
I was
different
always teaching you about fear and
Right.
thunder and
But then, I started going to other churches and, they taught a little bit different. So, but then I started looking, doing my own research after the fact. And I was just like, God, this is like, and then growing up in the Bible Belt, it just made me see how really hypocritical everybody was.
oh yeah.
And it was just like, I
They
would
can
go,
abuse their children and bash their wife Monday to Saturday, but they go to church on Sunday and all is forgiven. No. I'm just going to go to the little girls' room. I'm just going to put the mic on mute and I'll be back directly. Yeah.
right. Yeah. It was just crazy. So that kind of just opened up my eyes. And then, when I came back to California, I just started to, looking at stuff. But anyway. So Amy, what else is
Yes.
going
I'm so excited to learn the realness of everything. Like everything, like not just what other people say, but the reality of it. Like I'm so excited for the Paranormal 101 because I want to get into investigating. And then the exact way of how you actually cleanse and how what crystals do, and not just what you think, but what they should really do,
Yeah. Well, we do have a lot of people out there that do um that do have a lot of knowledge and experience
Yeah.
doing that. I mean, the only thing I could do is give my uh, my what I've learned and what I've experienced over the 30 plus years I've been doing this.
But this is truth. Okay. There's a difference between exaggeration, which is what a lot of things are out there, is exaggeration. And I don't want exaggeration. I want real.
Yeah. I mean, I could be honest, and Deb is in. I mean, Deb and I talked, in detail about different tools in the field, and and I kind of laugh at a lot of the tools that are out there that are being used in the field. It's just mind blowing because I somebody was out to make money, I've seen when the tools were introduced. I've seen why that they were introduced. Um, but the way that the tools are designed to be used, they're not, just from my experience and some of the things that, well, I mean, it all comes down to experience. When spirit is around, it's not like there's, you have so many lights, so much equipment around that, you have an EMF detector, you have something like that around, and there's so many things that are being setting those things off. And I've learned this because of my job. And that's where I was talking to Deb. You go back 10 years ago, maybe even a little bit further, let's say about 11 years ago, there wasn't as many Wi-Fi devices as there are today.
Right.
Wi-Fi devices were still, they were around, but they weren't as prominent as they are today. So as the more and more they were introduced into homes and into businesses and things like that, where Wi-Fi started getting huge, the more and more that Wi-Fi devices came out, the more and more RF interference started coming out. So now these devices that people are using have to realize that there's so much RF interference around, you have to be careful on, on so many false positives that are being introduced. And especially with cell towers, things like that. Cell towers that send out a ping. And with 5G, it's gotten even worse. Um, so, and, who would have thought that, back before LCD TVs came out, now I'm getting a little technical. Um, who would have thought that, when people had plasma TVs in their living room, plasma TVs put out RF interference for up to a quarter mile. So imagine, and when you walk in front of a plasma TV back in the day, when you
Yeah.
walk in, they put out so much heat because they're sending out so much RF interference. So those bulbs illuminate. They're so hot that you can feel the heat from a plasma screen about 3 feet away, sometimes even a little bit further.
Right.
But those devices were putting out RF interference for a quarter mile. So imagine sitting
Wow.
there with that thing, what it was doing to your body. So,
Right.
so a lot of people didn't even realize that. But
Do,
the more
do
when
you
I go ahead.
do you think, okay, Lisa and I were doing an experiment. She had the plasma screen up, okay?
Mhm.
And she had the box on. We were doing EVPs, doing stuff throughout the box. We were doing a session and she had the plasma screen and I'm on the other end of the phone, okay? But
Mhm.
she's got the 3-part screen. I don't know if she shared the pictures with you or not, but I was taking snapshots 3 at a time in consecutive order of the screen to see if I could get any pictures from the plasma. And I got some interesting pictures from the plasma screen, like some picture of the face of an older gentleman. I mean, some really weird pictures. And
So,
is that like I mean, is that evidence? And if so, during the ghost box session, would you consider that evidence?
I mean, of course. I mean, if something's visual, because there is such a thing as visual ITC also. So visual ITC, the best way to do visual, well, there's several ways to do visual ITC. So visual ITC, a good way of doing it is you get a camera, like a video camera, and you put it up against like um, an old CRT or a monitor or a TV that
Yeah,
has lens. Because in the old TVs, if you ever hold up a camera at a TV, you'll see the scan lines. The scan lines
right,
is basically the refresh rate.
right,
So they go at different speeds. So at 50
right.
hertz moves a lot slower. At 60 hertz, they're going to move a little bit faster. So sometimes when you hold up a camera to that, and especially a video camera, and you do a loop, basically you're just recording those lines going through, images will
Yeah,
start appearing. So
right.
there's some amazing uh, evidence captured through that, and that's called visual ITC. So you're asking somebody to show themselves on camera, and they will. They'll show themselves on the TV. That's kind of like where Poltergeist came up, right? When the little girl's sitting in front of the TV and she's talking to the TV. There, she's talking using the white noise. Uh,
Right, right. I mean, I get it. I get it. I just don't know what to do with it once I have it. Like I have several pictures, but you know how you go, I probably have 50 pictures, but you want someone else to see your work, but you don't know what to do with those 50 pictures for someone else to look at them.
but see, here's the thing: you were there, you experienced it, so
Right.
what that's where, because you can show somebody else, and trust me, I know you can show somebody else that same footage that you got, and they're going to say, no, it's
They're
nothing.
not going to see the same pictures, right?
Now there is a certain thing of called matrixing or pareidolia. It's like looking at the clouds. You're going to see images and say, oh, that looks like a rabbit. Somebody else might say, oh, it doesn't look like anything, so
But if they do see the same thing, then what?
I mean, you could show it to 50 people and, maybe all 50 people might see it. But I mean, we all don't see the same thing, like what Carl said.
Right.
Because that's part of the human mind. I mean, the human mind works like our brain will tell us we're seeing something. So that's what we're portraying is that vision.
It's like that witch and the whatever it is, that picture of the witch and the farmer or whatever it is. Remember that school picture that they give you, and it's the witch or the farmer or whatever it is you see.
Yeah. Right. It's like a when you go to
Psychotherapy,
The
yeah.
Rorschach test.
a psychiatrist. They're going to show you pictures and ask you what you see, and depending on your answer, that's because they're doing a psych eval on you.
But I think it could be evidence if you see the same thing and several people see it and you're doing it and like you said, it's visual ITC.
Mhm.
At some point it's visual ITC if other people see the same thing.
Right. But not everybody will see it. That's the hard part.
Right.
I mean, I've had, like I said, I talk about video evidence that I've had over the years. And, people I've tried to say, oh, no, that's fake. That's so photoshopped or that's, special effects. And it's like, but you're seeing what I'm seeing.
No, I actually took it.
Saw it's not special effects. I'll give you the camera and you can take a look. It's stored on the camera. So it's, people are going to believe what they want to believe. So, but, when it all comes down to it, at the end of the day, it's whatever you experienced. That was something that you experienced. That's what you have to take away.
Okay.
And maybe that message was only meant for you, no one else.
Exactly. So, like I was saying, when you walked away, I was talking about, some of the things like what we were talking about were equipment. And you and I have talked off camera about that being an engineer, an electrical engineer. So, like how some of this equipment, what it was designed to do.
Yeah.
And then what people are using it for now, it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that's my big bugbear. It's like a device is built to do a function. People are using it in ways where the functionality of that particular item is either not capable of doing what they're doing and they're imprinting expectation on it, or they're using it in a context that it could function that way. They're just not using it right. So, but the thing is, it's built to do one thing. It's like a car. It's got multiple moving parts. A kettle is there to boil water. That's it. It's not there to pick up EMFs. It's not there to do another task that you're asking it to do. It was built and created to do one thing and one thing only.
Right.
So thus cat balls.
Yeah. Yeah. Cat balls are designed to pick up like a static.
Right. And they want entities to touch the cat balls that light up. Is that
They can be triggered.
a
No,
accurate tool?
no. In my opinion, take it for what you think it's worth.
Rob, your opinion?
I've used them before, and you know,
Okay.
could have been vibration setting them off, possibly. I mean, I'm a big skeptic, so when it comes to equipment, but I'll try different things.
And the teddy bear?
That's all for that's
So
like that's a REM pod,
Right.
and REM pods. I have mixed feelings on those also.
so
I have one that can go off because they can malfunction. Um, but I've also had them go off on command. So it's still hard to say, is it paranormal?
yeah,
It's
but
interesting. It's
but
interesting.
you're a conduit, Rob. So anything like a REM pod that you touch or put in your hand and charge with your energy, you're going to get a response. It's not
Yeah.
going to be true for everybody.
Right.
Like we were saying earlier, certain tools, Amy is comfortable using a spirit board. She's competent in building her skills and knowledge on the spirit board in tune with her vibration or energy.
So
It's not for everybody.
yeah. So here's my thought. Because I've done different tests on different frequencies, like what the human brain puts out. It's at a
Uh-huh.
it's at a frequency that an EMF detector will not pick up, because an EMF detector is set to 50 hertz and above, because that's where EMI comes from. It's anything
Yeah.
that's man-made, it's 50 hertz and above.
And don't forget, these people are filming sometimes off their iPhones
Right.
or cameras that
Yep.
have got Bluetooth. That'll activate it.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
When you were
So
on, I was talking about RF interference. RF interference was introduced
Mhm.
more and more. I was talking about Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi wasn't as prevalent as it is today. 10
no.
years ago, 12 years ago, people did have Wi-Fi in their home, but the 2.4 gigahertz range is totally different than 5G, or the frequencies, the signal boosts, because before, a Wi-Fi signal was literally only 30 feet.
Mm.
2.4, I mean, it could even go up to, at that time, with that technology, like the A band or B band, it was short, it wasn't very far. Now, as the technology changed, like when it went from A, B, and then the N band grew like up to 100 feet, 120 feet. So but N band didn't really get released until, like, I don't know, 5-6 years ago. So
2004, 5. Yeah. It's
mm,
been around a little bit, but not long.
not that's yeah, it was probably around 2016, maybe 14
14.
is what, yeah. But still, there was a lot of people that didn't have it. So the more and more that people got more and more Wi-Fi, and then 5G came out, now all these devices that people are using, they're picking up a lot more false positives. I had to do an extensive study on RF interference, and that's where I started learning, like, wow, this K2 meter's garbage, this meter's garbage, because now it's picking up so many false positives. Then I was talking about walking into somebody's house that had a plasma TV, and then plasma TVs put out RF interference for up to a quarter mile away.
Quarter
And,
mile away. Yeah.
and people don't realize that.
Yeah.
So
Plasma is
what,
an interesting topic, but sorry.
so what equipment can we use without the RF interference? I mean, actually in a house now.
Honestly,
Not much.
here's no, you can use a static detector, because static, and then here's my theory on static. Okay, if you walk around, shuffle your feet on a carpet, what are you building up?
Static.
Static.
Static electricity. So how can we as humans walk around, shuffle our feet, and now put out AC or DC current? We can't. We don't have that capability. So how can we walk around, build up static, and convert that to DC power? We can't do that. That's not built in our nature. So we can't put out something that's 50 hertz or 60 hertz. In my eyes, as just, and then what do you think, Deb, as an electrical engineer? I mean, what do you think?
I totally agree. I mean, in my house, we don't have carpet for
Right.
that very reason. But I also wanted to pick up on a point that Carl just raised, and it's just a fact of the planet that we live on. We
Right.
are surrounded by static electricity.
Mhm.
That's why when the wind picks up, our hair stands on end and on our arms and our hair and does all sorts of funky things. The energy of the planet is also a factor in these things.
Right.
The energy that you build up before you even go into an investigation, depending on the weather. The solar flares that may be happening. We've talked about this offline extensively.
Right.
There is a myriad of things that can trigger an electrical phenomenon. What it is, you may or may not understand, and you put it down under a heading of paranormal, where in actual fact it has a very strong scientific basis for why it happened. But
Right.
in the paranormal investigations, when you look at them, it's automatically a sign of spirit activity or that they're not alone. They put it down to something else, and that is building an understanding, wrongly in my opinion, of what the paranormal truly is and what it could be, because the presupposition is that, and they educate people and they all use the same language, they all use the same tools. Why is this happening? They've used it to pick up static electricity. But if they're standing on carpet and in these old rundown hospitals and just walking around will trigger static in the air.
Mhm.
If they've got electrical devices around them with the Bluetooth on, it will create an event. It
Right.
doesn't necessarily follow that it's a paranormal event and that they're surrounded by spirits or whatever.
Right.
It's a tool that picks up electrical energy or pinpoints it like it with a static electricity device. It will pick up an anomaly or a phenomenon, but it doesn't necessarily follow that it's paranormal. It has a real life basis in why it's doing what it's doing. We've been taught to think that it's automatically this thing because it's not seen and it's triggered the device, but the device is built to do one purpose. And that purpose, when it's triggered, is not necessarily something that can't be explained.
Right.
Does that make sense?
No, absolutely. And
I
that's
tried to break it down as much as possible. Then yeah.
no, but that's in my experiences that I have seen, and what I have experienced was there was a natural explanation of why something was triggered. And I was in some arguments with a few people, and I said, okay, watch, we can replicate this. And we would walk back, and the device would hit it on the same area again. But that's part of doing proper research is you try to you try to replicate that, and sometimes it can take longer to replicate it, to just say, okay, we're going to see. You can spend an hour trying to replicate it, and we'll just keep on doing it to see if we can replicate it 2 out of 3 times. We're like, okay, it was nothing paranormal.
Well, that's true. If you can replicate that's an empirical scientific method. If you can replicate it and it's the finding stays the same, then there's something there.
Right.
What it is I don't know, it could be a live wire in the wall.
Right.
I've seen a lot of people, and they're walking around in these old nursing homes and abandoned buildings, and there's still carpet. There's still the capacity to generate static electricity, and that electricity stays live in the air and builds the more people. So you're only seeing, in front of the camera, you're only seeing a couple of investigators, but behind the camera, you've got the cameraman, the sound guy, the guy with the camera. There's a whole myriad of people all shuffling on, for example, carpet, and it was all old nylon carpet. It wasn't wool or quality. It has a capacity to charge, and it'll hold charge in the air for a few minutes, and that will build the more people are there. And then someone comes along with a device that picks up static, and the next thing you know, they've got an event. That's all it is. They've picked up on something that's they've created by being in the place and the environment where they are. We've been trained to take it on whatever, that it's automatically the phenomenon that has occurred as being in the presence of a spirit. Our brains have been trained to look at it that way, where in actual fact, if you step back and looked at it and thought about it, it's called a Faraday cage, but I don't want to get technical, but at the end of the day, we've been trained in the paranormal world when we watch these investigations that the device is picked up static electricity, but it does not necessarily follow that it is the presence of a spirit.
Yeah.
But our brains and watching these shows, they're all the same. Oh, where there's a spirit here, the device has picked up a spirit.
Well, here's the thing. So I have never seen any, well, I can't say never. I haven't seen very many people carry a static detector.
No.
Everybody carries EMF detectors, and there's a big difference. So I've always carried an EMF or a spirit. God, can't even talk. Static detector.
Yeah, I couldn't think of it either. Just then I was struggling to think.
And and a recorder, or I would carry a static detector. Somebody else had, because I was always filming, but I would have a static detector and a compass. And I told Deb the story.
Yeah.
One time I was walking around, had the compass in my hand, and had the static detector on me. I'm walking, and the freaking compass just starts spinning, just like spinning, like a top. I mean, the needle was spinning like super fast. The static detector,
Something's wrong at that point.
the static detector is going off like crazy. And then all of a sudden they both that so the compass is just spinning, and it stops on a dime. It literally is spinning like super fast, and then boop, it just stops. And then I'm like, what the hell was that?
Yep. I would have said the same thing.
But at that same time, we were doing an EVP session, and we got somebody laughing and said, I did it.
Yeah.
We asked who's setting off the compass, who's making the compass spin, and who's setting off the static detector. And we got a male laughing, and they said, I did it. We're like, okay, there's our validation right there.
See, that I'd give more credibility to, because you had more than one device to support what you heard. I wouldn't write that off necessarily, but a compass picks up magnetic energy.
Right.
It's triggered by the Earth's magnetic. Same as if you're like, I mean, I could show you, but I'm looking at my fire pit. We're all around in the gardens of the house, and we've talked about this off camera. I've put rose quartz pebbles. When I do my firework and sigils and energy work around the fire pit at certain times of the year, different times,
right,
it heightens that energy. I could get the same result. I may or may not be able to get it validated by anybody else, but I've experienced something. It's the same thing.
Right.
You got a response in the static, which is normal. You captured it, which is credible, and you had an event which was triggered by electrical
Right.
spark of some description. I mean, if you wanted to get into technicalities, I'd use a whole lot of vortex mathematics to prove why this thing, or electrical math. It's why I believe that the universe is electrical,
Right.
and I believe that plasma is another phase.
Yeah.
That we haven't even touched into yet.
Plasma is like just another. That's a whole nother.
Yeah, but I'm big on it. So, but I've been doing this. I've been researching all my life. So I may be ahead of the game there, but I believe that plasma has a level again of we don't know what we're dealing with, but there's something out there.
But I'm wondering if that's why plasma technology has gone away.
I think it's a big reason on why people can't get free energy, because plasma would provide it. It's out in the ether. It's what we refer to as the ether.
Right.
Out in the universe, that plasma environment is out there and it's fully charged. And we could tap into that with the right technology, but it's not being allowed to happen simply because it would interfere with the economics. Same as a whole lot of other things, but I don't want to sound like I'm a conspiracy theorist, because I'm not. I'm a scientist, first and foremost.
Yeah, and
You
I mean,
because the government won't let it happen?
I agree with what you said. I'm not in a position to confirm or deny. But yes, there are those who would not allow those sorts of technologies, just look at
Right.
Tesla, to be
Because
developed. That's free energy.
free, they don't hear the word free.
That's right. We could live in a Jetsons world. We could have free propulsion instead of
Right.
oil.
They don't know what the word free is. Wi-Fi was free at one point.
But it was used by the army for a long time before it was weaponized, same as the nuclear bomb.
Yeah.
It was weaponized long before. That's where drone technology took over. It was weaponized long before it was free. And I don't think it's had a bigger impact than what governments around the world thought it would take off with. And 5G is just another level. And I'm on 5G here, but I live in what they call a smart suburb. But what I was referring to with the quartz is we also have to look at the environment where you are at the time. Here in Western Australia, we are loaded with iron ore. So it's just plentiful everywhere. We barely, for all the 50 plus 100 years or so that we've been mining ore here in Western Australia, iron ore, we haven't even scratched the surface. People sort of think, oh, we must be, have these big mining holes everywhere. We don't. We've barely scratched the surface on that, and it has ramifications. You could argue that the conspiracy theories of, are there mining operations on the moon? What are they on? What are they mining? What are the minerals that we don't have here that it's plentiful up there? Asteroids. I mean, you could run them up, but
right.
Getting back to the topic, yeah, when you see people using REM pods and so forth, unless they're using a static meter, be skeptical.
Yeah. Well, even a REM pod was designed off of the Thurman Jr. musical instrument. That's what it is. It's a musical
That's
instrument.
a fascinating. Yet I know we've talked about this, but yeah, that's a fascinating instrument. Wow. Yep.
It's
I'm with you, brother.
literally, it's a musical instrument. That's what it was
It's a
designed.
communication device as well, if you look at it.
But
Can a
yeah.
REM pod be used? Can a REM pod be designed from static with music?
No.
No, it's what will set it off is it can be set off by RF interference.
Right. But can you put music to it?
Well, that's
Can
what
it
it
be
is.
a
I mean, it's,
standalone?
I'm not. My initial response from understanding of broad understanding of harmonics, it would be possible, but you would need to build a, like Rob has with his engineering and creations, you would need to build a device capable of picking up the frequency or vibration, which
Yeah.
is why what was that, the name of that thing that you just said, Rob? The
Thurman Jr.
Yeah,
Thurman Jr.
Thurman box or instrument is an interesting piece of gear that I don't think anybody in the spaces that we all like to talk about, nobody's really utilised it or looked into it as much as I think it should be.
I
But
think the Thurman.
Yeah,
I think that was
we have
developed. I think in the 20s. I think.
yeah, 20s, late teens, early 20s, I think, 21, 22.
we have to backstep a little bit and get around this Wi-Fi issue and the different frequencies that we're encountering now, and somehow get around it.
Now you're talking my language. I totally agree. Totally agree. So you have to be careful when. One thing I've learned over the years, and this is just from my own personal experience, take it for what you think it's worth. I'm always very mindful of when somebody says, "Oh, get grounded." It's not enough to just take your shoes off and walk on the ground. You have to understand what's under the ground and what's in it, particularly here in Western Australia with iron ore being so prevalent. It's why that's why I got a pool. That's my cleansing. That's my neutral space is in water, because I work with fire energy. So I counter what I do with that with water. But that's what just works for me.
So here, I'm going to post up something so you guys can check it out.
How do we reach a younger generation?
Hold on. Didn't mean to play that music, but here, I'm going to share this with everybody. I'm going to share my screen.
It gives me an opportunity to go back. Just hold on a minute.
Hold on.
Oh, we've got to get a T-shirt. I mean, the merch out of that is just horrendous. That's just epic. A couple of people going back that I referenced about the Bible being retranslated with the Hebrew dictionary asked about the channel on YouTube, and it's called The Fifth 5TH Kind, Kind. I can't think of the guy's name off the top of my head, but I've been sending a lot of stuff to Rob and Carl and others, and it's worth looking into.
So this is a Thurman.
Another peaceful, really. Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Dark Side of the Moon album. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to do a quick little demo. But yeah, so a Thurman, then they came out with the small little kits that you can make at home. And that's what people, That's what the REM pod was made out of. It's a home kit. But anyway, I just want to share the little history behind the Thurman. But the
No,
Thurman
that's right.
was invented back in the 20s, I believe, or late teens. But then they become popular in the 20s.
A lot of musicians use them still.
Yeah, they still use them.
What triggered, and I apologise, Rob, I do. What triggered me to giggle was who was it? Kevin posted, Vincent Price jamming out.
Yeah,
Thurman.
it kind of looked like Vincent Price, but
I didn't say that. Yeah, but sound is definitely, harmonics is definitely a field that's still got a lot to offer.
right. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, I know that we've been a little bit all over the place, but it was some good topics. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff in there. So I think what Kevin suggested is we do a Zoom
Yeah,
and do like a paranormal 101. We can talk about different topics and we can go off and just kind of give our sense or our 2 cents on what we believe, and kind of teach people on what to do, and or you know best practices, I guess. I don't mind talking about that. I think it'd be a lot of fun to do.
yeah. I'd love to spend some time talking about the Dogon. I keep saying to people, look at them. Check out who they are in their cosmology.
you know
It is
and I
fascinating
remember,
beyond belief.
what makes them, I think, popular now because of their dance that they do.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny because a lot of people make memes and things out of them and things like that. But I know that that's where I first saw them. And then I started seeing more and more. And then when you posted those things, I was like, wow. Then you started seeing what they're. But it's so funny because I was watching something the other day and talking about different cultures that have experienced a lot of UFO phenomenon. And they all have the same story.
Yeah. But they knew about Sirius A, B, and C
Right.
long before it was discovered, and they've also incorporated into their cosmology. They also know about the hidden planet, which we've labelled Nibiru. So, and they knew about it thousands of years before anybody else twigged.
Okay, so I'm going to share a little piece of history. So, I mean, a little story about. I've been talking about a friend of mine who has a lot of experience with Galactic Federation. I'm just going to say that.
Yep.
So she said to me the other day, she said, so, I'm looking out at the Big Dipper, I'm looking at Orion, and I'm looking at the set of planet, or the set of stars that is more important than these other two constellations. It's the most important constellation next to Orion. And she said that's where there's actually a spacecraft out there that looks like a star. And that's all I got to say.
Well, you've only got to look at the big black.
So she said there's two objects that are side by side. It looks like two stars. She said, Rob, they're not stars.
No.
And she said, I know this from experience.
I've only ever had one UFO encounter in my life, and that's not going to surprise me. That's why I believe they're out there. Only one. But it was good.
Yeah.
Purple, you crack me up, baby. Bring snaps. Don't wear high heels.
I wish I could see the comments.
Yeah. For some reason today I can. Normally I can't. Hey, Pocket.
Yeah.
Exactly. Len needs to write a book on it.
So I'll talk to you. I mean, if you guys want to talk about, I mean, that it was just kind of something interesting she told me. It was an interesting story. But yeah, it's next to Orion. If you want to look, there's 2 stars next to Orion, just off to the west, I guess the east of it. So yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. And as Purple said, don't forget you need your black t-shirts as a really good investigator.
What is?
I still have a bunch of t-shirts I need to give away. I'll pull out.
I want one.
I know. I'll pull out all the sizes that I have. And then
Kevin's up a
I'll
creek.
do a count.
Kevin's up a creek now somewhere.
I guess maybe.
Is everybody asking about my shirt?
No. Purple's just started everybody on. If you're a good paranormal investigator, you always got to wear your black. And we've talked about that before. Bullshit. I mean, rubbish.
Right.
But like I said, women, just be careful wearing black on investigations, especially if there's infrared cameras, because being behind the camera and seeing things that I shouldn't be seeing and having to pull a woman aside and telling her, hey, you might want to wrap a sweatshirt around you or something, because I'm seeing right through everything. And I can't thank you for that, but I can't use the footage now that I have.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to have to blot it out, and it's just not going to be a good thing. So
that'd have me running in all directions.
You have to remember, IR is like a freaking. It's like X-ray glasses, especially if you're wearing black.
Yeah. And don't forget, you promised to help me set up my StreamYard so I can crank up my YouTube channel again.
We'll set up a Zoom and I'll walk you through it.
Roger.
I'll walk you through it.
Okay.
All right, guys. Well, I guess we're gonna
end. Thank you for having me on.
Oh yeah, thank you guys for coming on, and we'll have to set up a Zoom, maybe for next week.
Whenever you're ready, mate.
Good.
We'll figure something out.
Oh, Purple, you're no fool. If I can't wear my bondage undergarments, I mean, what's the point to an investigation? Wear bondage gear underneath.
Carl, we're still going to work on our little project. We just need to all we'll all talk offline. The 4 of us will talk offline, and we'll get together and do that. Like I promised. But anyway, well, everybody have a good night, and we'll see you guys Saturday.
Love you guys.